In that moment, I hear a whisper of movement down the hall. I limp out a bit more, watching as two tall ears slowly materialize out of the darkness. For a moment, I see a young male fox in overalls in front of me. But that imagery dissolves as Jenna is slowly lit up by the light coming from the weight room. She's covered in dust from the crawl space. I'm startled, but I'm not scared because I know she can't see me. At least, she shouldn't be able to see me, but her piercing eyes are right on me. She can see me. Maybe it's the fact that it's not Jenna at all. Maybe it's because she's completely possessed and it's John looking through her eyes. Whatever it is, she can see me, it's clear, because she immediately raises the knife and bares her teeth at me. I don't want the others getting caught by her, especially Raven tied up like that. I need to give Carl or I chance to attack from behind, depending on if she goes for me or takes a turn into the weight room. She's coming! I'm coming! Chosen one!
Chosen one! I'm coming! And also Monty Python.
I back out into the... Go ahead.
And then... Alright, go ahead.
I back out into the hall and away from Jenna, hoping to give one of us the advantage. But she's coming so fast. Alta, you're in on it with James, huh? Her voice, rough and deep, unlike anything I'd heard from Jenna before. I realized then that there's no waking Jenna up from this. It's not Jenna anymore. John sure as hell isn't waking up. John lunges and I turn and run. The fox doesn't even glance into the weight room as he comes for me. I limp and leap in through the darkness, left hand stretched out, desperately feeling for the end of the wall that will signify the stairs. I hear the fox breathing behind me, bumping into walls. Finally, my hand falls through nothing and I turn sharply and run up the stairs. As I stumble upwards, I start to wonder what the hell I'm going to do. Well, I could try and go for the bathroom. Lock the door. That doesn't exactly help out Carl. I can't stop thinking about the newspaper clipping that John's hanging corpse ate. If I can get that, get all the pieces that it wants us to get, then maybe I can end whatever this is. My thoughts are interrupted as something cold goes down my back, followed by an even colder pain, just to the right of my spine. I gasp as if I've fallen into water, but continue upwards. I can hear Carl shouting, too, at the base of the stairs. There's too much distance between me and him for the ram to be of any help. As I reach the top of the stairs, there's a loud thwack sound to the left of my head as I stumble into the kitchen. I glance over my shoulders and see John yanking the knife out from the wall. Almost sobbing now, I jump limp my way to the front door, hearing John scream curses at me from behind. Well, I want Carl's help right now. I also don't want him to catch up. I don't want John turning on him. I struggle with the door for a moment to push on it rather than pull. It's only a few seconds, but enough for John to gain on me, swinging the knife again as I pull open the door. I scream and duck, hearing the metal clang against the door hinge. I lunge forward out of the door and into the cool of the early morning. The sky is a soft blue as dawn breaks. I limp as fast as I can down the steps, down the driveway towards the slope past the road, but John catches me as I'm on the road. This time he grabs my shirt, holding on to me. I turn to face him as he draws the knife back for another swing, but at that moment we go over the slope. Even in my adrenaline-fueled state, the fall is painful, and each time I roll, I can feel the stab of rocks sticking into my skin. The final bounce is punctuated with a blinding pain in my forehead as it collides with a small boulder. I shakily get to my feet, looking left and right for the tree, panicking until I realize it's right in front of me. I stumble right into it, clinging to it. I scan the dirt, but there's nothing. No paper at all. Jenna's getting up just 5 feet away. I can see blood oozing through several scratches on his body. The knife is still in his hand, and he's zeroing in on me again. I cower and move behind the tree, my plan ruined. That's when my face comes level with the hollow of the tree. Automatically I reach in, feeling around, feeling mostly spiderwebs and twigs before. Carl appears on top of the slope.
Hey! Hey! Stop!
John whirls around, knife raised as he immediately moves in the other direction. You! My hand finds the corner of a piece of paper, and I pull out the newspaper clipping. Scanning over it, it's another quote from Carl's mother. I begin to read, my voice cracking as I manage to shout. But I was able to open the lockbox kept by James himself. It was full of jail letters between him and John. John freezes in his steps, knife still raised, looking up at Carl. I don't want to sully the Hendricks name, but if what John said is true, James framed him for the most heinous crime in Echo's history. In the meantime, Carl stumbles down the slope, moving carefully around the fox to stand in front of me. I reach into my pocket and pull out the other pieces of paper. I hold them up. John, we know the truth. I'm going to tell everyone in my documentary, okay? I'm a journalist, a reporter. We'll see the truth. John turns towards me, knife slowly lowering. And just like that, it's not John anymore, it's Jenna. The knife clatters to the rocks. Carl reaches out to hold me and I collapse against him, everything numb. Jenna's hands go to her mouth, staring at the knife, staring at me and Carl before she screams. And in the distance, I can hear sirens. Dots.
Dots.
Dot, 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 dot. Is history subjective in nature? The story of James and John sure seems to be. All we have are a few written letters, and from these we must try to draw some sort of conclusion. In the end, it can't really be said what exactly happened almost 150 years ago. Instead, we can only provide the facts. Several native children went missing. James was accused of the crime before claiming that his secret lover, John, was the culprit. In his jail letters, Jonathan claims that he was framed by James because of the vigilante justice dealt out by the town. John never had a trial, and no record of the evidence collected exists. James, because of his influence, was allowed to leave and live hundreds of miles away on the west coast, where he eventually died. He never wrote of the incident again. Many believe that, as journalists, we are supposed to be unbiased and only state facts. That's not exactly true, as long as it's clear that we're stating an opinion. And so I'd like to do that now. It's my opinion that John is innocent. We should be presumed innocent until proven guilty, after all, and Jonathan was never even and Jonathan has never even had that chance. According to accounts written by other townspeople, James was a deceitful, emotionally manipulative man. There are many accounts of his prejudices against the native people. In the end, the record that exists of John gives us no reason to disbelieve him, while James has given us every reason to doubt him. But because time is evidence his worst enemy, it has been 150 years. The definitive answer will likely never be known. Like much of Echo, the story is lost to time. I am Chase Hunter at Pueblo University, and this has been a special report on the town of Echo. I look over the report again, eyes stinging from staring at the monitor for too long. I'm a terrible writer, and the words of the script seem so clumsy. I shrug and decide I'll have time tomorrow to polish it up a bit. It's weird, writing the last word to a script I started almost 1.5 years ago. It's changed a lot since then, moving from a focus on hysteria to an old mansion mystery. My mind wanders back to that spring break in Echo. I still shake my head when I think about it. How it completely shattered my view on reality, my view on life. Of course, I couldn't come back to school right afterwards. I hadn't finished my project after all. Actually, I needed therapy. We all did. Except Carl. He seems to have come out of it better than he had going into it. Somehow. Everyone handles trauma differently, Jenna would say. In fact, she has a lot of things to say about what happened. While she didn't come out quite as unscathed as Carl, she's still tougher than me. And actually went right back to school that summer. Now she's at Weston, and a lot of her research is focused on folie à deux, or shared psychosis. Because of how everything went down, the things we felt and what we saw, Jenna's convinced that that's what took place. She brought up the way we primed each other to hear and see things, the way the things we saw didn't have any rhyme or reason for what they were. While I do believe a lot of what we saw came from ourselves, I'm not fully convinced that explains all of it. Mainly because the rest of the townspeople went through their own nightmare that night. I still can't believe the things that Leo and TJ went through. Still, I'm glad she can find a way to explain it to herself. She told me over the phone just last week that she hasn't forgiven herself, that she should have been stronger than that. I've told her over and over that it's not her fault, but I guess after coming to with a knife in her hand and her friend stabbed, it left an impression. I rest my hand on the thick scar through my shirt that runs all the way down my back and wiggle the ankle that causes me a permanent limp. Still, this whole incident, it actually brought us closer. At least for Jenna, Carl, and I. Hell, even Raven. It's still painful to think about how Flynn, Leo, and TJ, poor TJ, aren't really talking anymore. I guess it's the fact that we went through completely different things during the incident. Of course, we'd told the police that it was someone else that had stabbed me while the town descended into madness. Echo, a name now famous worldwide after the mass hysteria event that truly brought a dying town to its ultimate end. At least in terms of being a failed town. While no one really lives there now, it's certainly become a tourist attraction. Countless news reports, TV shows, and paranormal investigators descend on the area. Especially since the news story changed from "Killing spree leaves 9 dead" to "Whole town went nuts." Luckily, not a lot of focus fell on us since we weren't exactly living in Echo anymore. We just got into the ambulances and left. Carl, on the other hand, along with the rest of his family, are still harassed by the media. Tom's mom, Tricia, is a pro at handling the media, though. I still wonder about what exactly it was that stopped her from publishing all her findings. I'll have to ask her sometime, considering I'm practically family due to how much I visit with Carl. In the end, the relationship that I had with Carl in the dreamscape didn't exactly survive in the real world. Carl told me that he didn't know where he ended and James began, but when he rejected James's influence, we couldn't really trust anything that happened there. Still, he's my best friend, and I plan to spend the summer over at his house when I start my next project on Echo. Yeah, I realized that there were a lot more stories to cover out over there, and I plan to uncover them. I'm almost healed. It's almost healing going back there now without any fear. My own little therapy. I guess I always end up back there eventually. The sound of clops to my right makes me look up, just as a bulky ram fills the frame of the doorway. Carl leans against it, rolling his eyes.
Dude! You told me you were gonna work on that tomorrow.
I smile and rest my chin in my palm. Was just giving it a quick once-over before we film.
Yeah, sure. Anyway, I'm going for some pizza. You coming?
I'm not really hungry, but taking my mind off Echo for just a little bit sounds good. Carl always cheered me up anyway. I nod over at the corner of our dorm room where Carl's papier-mâché sculpture of a tortured-looking bird sits. Don't you have to finish that thing by tomorrow? Carl shrugs.
I got like 3 energy drinks in the fridge. I'll be good. Come on, let's get going. I want to meet Caitlin there too.
I get up slowly, stretching out my back. Oh, I see. So I'm just your wingman. Carl smirks.
It's not like that, dude. I just like hanging out with her. Now let's go!
Adventure!
A cinnamon toast realm! I fly back.
Carl hangs in the... Carl frames in the hang. Carl frames in the hang, okay. Carl hangs on the frame, starting to swing himself out into the hall. Hey, Carl? Carl rebounds back into the room, leaning in towards me.
Yo!
Thanks for being my friend. I don't know if it was all the reminiscing about what happened the spring before last, or if I'm still not over what happened, but Carl seems to understand. He smiles and reaches out a big hand towards me, which I grasp.
Of course, man. And if you need to talk or something, I'm here. Do you want to talk right now?
I shake my head quickly. Nah, I'm good. I just wanted to say it. Carl smiles.
Well, thanks for saying it. Now let's go!
Carl again swings on the door frame out into the hall. There's some loud clopping before I hear him shouting at someone and giving them what sounds like a high five. I smile to myself as I look at the document on the screen one last time, before closing the laptop and following Carl out into the hallway.
finally a good end.
Yeah.
Woo! It's a legit good end too.
Mm-hmm.
Not like Chase survives kind of end, like in the end of TJ's route. What was his route have we done? Oh, well, you know, actually, Leo had a good end. Leo's route had a legit good end.
Yeah.
Actually, do you think it was probably better end than this one? Because Chase got a new boyfriend who's reliable, and strong.
He's trauma bonded with him, so not really.
Yeah, that's probably true.
So that relationship is potentially going to just explode at some point or fall apart.
And this one's like more genuine. Like, I guess they're kind of also trauma bonded. Do you think?
I mean, to an
Carl
extent, but they're not in a relationship, quote unquote. They're just friends. And
Yeah,
that
true.
can blossom into an actual relationship, but it sounds like Carl is probably bi.
Yeah, because there was like a gay relationship they were building, and now it seems like maybe he's could be going out with this Caitlyn character, whoever she is. But at the same time, he's saying he just likes hanging out with her.
Yeah.
So maybe not. We don't really know. I don't think we know that part of Carl's orientation, actually. If he's bi or gay.
Yeah, and it's fine either way.
Well, actually, we kind of do, because he did have...
He had a girlfriend in high school.
He had a girlfriend in high school, and then he was ready to get together with Chase. So, yeah, I think bi would be appropriate, yeah.
Yeah.
Or a little bi ram.
Which is fine. Like,
Yeah,
nothing
fine.
wrong with that. Honestly,
Absolutely nothing.
like
He's a good boy.
I was talking about this with someone, and it's the whole thing, like, when you meet people who are super concerned or focused on, like, people's sexual orientations or genders or whatever, like, that doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it's like, why are you so obsessed with this? I mean,
Yeah.
are you afraid they're going to come after you?
Yeah, it's
Dude, even
like-
if they do, just say you're not interested.
Yeah.
Most reasonable people are going to, if they're told, nah, I'm good, I don't want to date you, they're going to say okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And I can only assume that if someone's like really, really upset about that, they're worried that they're going to get flirted with and just pursued and stalked, because maybe that's the kind of person they are, and they're projecting what they believe they would do onto the other person.
Or they're just incredibly insecure. I think it's the insecurity.
Yeah. Probably the insecurity as
I
well.
mean, there's also a cultural aspect of it where, like, being gay is, at least in the past, was perceived as a bad thing. I mean, like, even Mormons, they have this, like, made-up mental condition. I forget what they call it. It's ludicrous. But their made-up woo-woo mental condition basically says that, like, gay people have a fetish for each other instead of gay people exist. Basically. As I said, it's
fetish
just,
for each other.
yeah, like
What the hell?
like their whole thing is gay people have a kink for each other. Like gay men have a kink for men. It's like, so you're saying
That doesn't make
straight
sense.
men have a kink for women? I'm confused, and like they try to paint it as like a mental illness or some shit, and it doesn't
No,
make any sense.
It does. Yeah, it doesn't make sense, because that simple logical test is, if you just replace one part of this, like you replace them having a fetish for men and replace that with a fetish for women, is it still a fetish, or is it like it's okay? And it's no longer a fetish in their eyes,
Yeah,
which means it can't really be a fetish for guys.
Yeah.
It's just dumb.
yeah,
It's
very,
just dumb.
it's very dumb. But you know, it's just, yeah, like people who are against, like, someone just, so like the conversation was like, someone stole my phone. So for those of you who don't know, I don't know where my phone is right now, but yeah, I can probably find it in like 30 seconds.
Want me to call you?
prevent it. So this is what my phone looks like. Okay? It's pink and blue. Why? Because I like pink and blue. Okay, so person was like, "Oh, are you gay?" And I'm like, No. I've hung out with guys. I've done stuff with guys. I've tried that to see if it works. And I can very confidently say that men's bodies do nothing for me. Just how it is. I have tried. Just does nothing. However, I can look at women all day. So, it is just one of those things. Am I would I be offended by guys wanting to do stuff with me? No. Why would I be? He's inviting me to go have a good time with him. Why would
with me? Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, he's inviting me to go have a good time with him. Why would I decline if it's something that sounds like it could be fun, right? So, and I can say that because I'm secure in that way. So people who are like, they get hit on by, so some guy who gets hit on by a gay guy, by a gay or bi guy, dude, that person who gets offended by that is super insecure about themselves. It's a them problem. 100% a them problem. And as you said, they don't understand that if you're just like, not really, doesn't really do anything for me, I'm not interested, no thank you. Like gay dudes, they get it. They're like, okay, that's cool. Mind if I hang around? Mr. Good Looking, right? Like
the eye candy.
Yeah. You might be eye candy. They might want to just enjoy looking at you. They're not hurting you by doing that. They're not causing you any damage. You might get that feeling that women get on a pretty regular basis, because women get stared at by dudes all the time, and it makes a lot of women extremely uncomfortable. So you'll be getting a little bit of that, but at the same time, as long as you feel confident that you could defend yourself from this person, if they tried to do something, which they won't, then as long as you feel comfortable, you're fine. So
just set up boundaries. Have clear boundaries.
Yeah, have boundaries.
And if you don't know how to do that, learn how. Like, I have trouble being assertive, but it's one of the things to be like, dude, I don't want this. Don't do that. Or I'm just gonna have to be like, not. I just don't have you come around anymore.
The moment I started working in a mental health setting, especially in a hospital, I learned boundaries super fast. Super, super fast. Because you have to be able to set boundaries. Otherwise, the patients will just have you running back and forth forever. Like, you'll just be going constantly. Just be like, hey, can I get this? And you'll go and get it for them. Like, hey, can I get that? And you'll go and get it for them. And when you have like 5 patients, it's not really a big deal. It's kind of just boring. But if you have like 20, no way. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I've kind of tried it a little bit myself. Realized that I am definitely heterosexual, like 100%. Like, I tried something, I was like, I just feel like super uncomfortable, and this is just not working at all. And the guy was like, oh, okay, that's cool. I mean, kind of sucks, but I'm like, yeah, sorry, I know you kind of came into this, but I'm just not feeling it. He was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and
it was just like, he was cool with it. Like, I just said, nah, I tried, didn't work out, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and like, a huge thing is, there's nothing wrong with that. Here's the fun part, though. Here's the part where we get to the fun bit. If you do enjoy doing some things, well, I mean, you don't have to like the way he really looks to do those fun things with him. If it doesn't require a specific, aspect of you. So, go and enjoy.
Yeah, and we're still friends, that guy and I.
Yeah.
And he asked me if it's like cool if like he does. Actually, he didn't ask, but I figured he would probably want to pleasure himself, you know. And I'm just like, I just kind of thought to myself, I'd just be flattered more than anything, because I don't really think I'm that attractive personally. So if someone thinks I'm attractive enough to want to pleasure themselves too, like, yeah, I'm flattered, honestly.
And
I just yeah, it's not that insecure.
I just want to add something to this very quick that's actually super, super, super important. And that is, I just want to make it perfectly clear. We're not attempting to take, like, being gay or bi and then just compress that into being like, oh, it's just a sexuality. Oh, it's just who you're attracted to. Because there's a fundamental difference between homosexual and gay. Homosexual, by the way, is just the sexual orientation, whereas gay is the entire culture.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Right? So, like, when people say queer culture, they're really talking about gay culture. Because gay culture is super, super, super inclusive. If you're cool and you're willing to hang out with them, you can go to all the Pride events you want. If you're in San Francisco and you want to go to Frolic, you can be the straightest person ever. Go to Frolic. You'll make tons of friends.
Just respect the culture, you know?
Yeah, just...
I think that's what it is. Just respect the culture.
Yeah, it's that whole thing. Like, there are lots and lots of gay people out there who are not like, oh my god, hi! Like that's a stereotype to an extent, but I mean, most of the gay people you'll meet are just normal. Like, they just talk like a normal person. They're not super over the top about things. You know, they're just who they are. It's just, for some reason, when you look at the art in their house or their apartment, there's a lot of really muscular dudes or really, like, really, really thin twinks. And it's like, huh, all right. I see where this is going.
Yeah, I've got a few friends that are gay. I've got 2 friends that are married to each other, and neither one of them talks like, oh my god. They don't have that. Yeah. They do not. Was that an inflection at the end? Neither of them have that. You talk to them, and they talk to you like they are absolutely normal. Like, you would look at them, talk to them, and you would both think, and you would think both of them are just bros. Like, they're just pals. They get along, maybe roommates, they're cool with each other. You would never realize they're husband and husband. Not ever, because one of them, like, one of the dudeliest dudes out there, would talk to you about football, loves the Colts. You know, he'll talk to you about, like, all his fan stuff. He'll invite you over to a movie, and his husband will cook for you. And he's a great chef, a great home chef. And, like, yeah, like, these are just bros. If you ever saw them kiss, it'd probably surprise you if you didn't know already that they were married and gay. It was like, wait, you're married? I'm like, yeah, you didn't know? No! You look like bros. You look like a sports bro. He's a chef bro. I thought y'all were just bros and, like, roommates and just, like, you know, probably had girlfriends on the side. I just didn't ask it. It's none of my business.
Yeah, bro.
You would never know.
They're just like, yeah, bro, we are. Check this out.
Yeah. They're like, hey, you know, check this out. Let's, you know, put your hands together this way. You know, I think I know what you're talking. I won't go with that.
Okay, so first off, cover your hand and all this stuff, and then make a duckbill with your hand, and
there she is.
And this is what large intestines feel like.
But yeah, you would never know that they were married, 2 guys married, until you asked or just saw them kiss, and it's just like, you'll just act like bros. They literally act like any straight guy I've ever met, and it's just like, well, shit.
Yep.
I had no idea.
Yep.
Which is awesome. So anyone who thinks that it's like it's the stereotype is the whole thing, yeah, the stereotype has a lot of yeah, it's got a lot of reinforcement, I think, but at the same time, it's not. It's a stereotype for a reason.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like this idea that people use, just quickly put it into a spot and be like, yeah, that's all of them. It's like, it's really not.
Remember, guys, just because we brought up stereotypes, the whole thing about them is there is a kernel of truth in every stereotype. A kernel of it. But that small kernel is expanded into this, like, is expanded and exaggerated into this big, ridiculous thing. Right? So, what this means is, when you meet gay people, you will meet gay people who are like, oh, hi, how's it going? How are you? And that one person is expanded to all gay people by the stereotypes, right?
Where most of them are just like, hey, what's up, man?
Yeah. And like, yes, they will joke around. We will have fun with it. But almost every single person that I've met who talks to other dudes like, hey, what's up, dude? How you doing, huh? You having a good time? They're almost all straight.
And they're just fucking around.
Yeah, it's just a joke. Or maybe they're super chill and that's just been incorporated into who they are. Like, hi.
It could just be like one of the mini memes they basically grew up with. I mean,
yeah,
I can't tell you how many things in and out just, you know, can share from our childhoods about, you know, all the different things. And it's just like, yeah, all of them pop up, and when they do, we just go on a nice little, you know, meme train and just have some fun with it.
Yeah.
And that's all it is. And so someone does go, oh my goodness, look at you. It's just like,
my goodness.
My goodness. It's like, yeah, that was a meme back in the day.
Yeah.
We just have fun with it. Doesn't mean disrespect at all.
Yeah, and one thing to keep in mind is that a lot of this stuff where it was super exaggerated was after Stonewall in, I think, the 80s. Where there was that real thing where now people were going to start really pushing gay rights. Because there was sort of this, like, period, there was this period of time where basically being gay was a crime. It wasn't on the books as a crime, but they criminalized everything that was gay. So, for example, any kind of sex that was not just intercourse, meaning phallus into, between labia and into vagina, anything that was not that was considered sodomy and was like a felony. So they would criminalize everything that they could to basically punish people for being gay. Even to the point of, like, men could not wear makeup at all. Cross-dressing was a crime. Wearing makeup was a crime. And so at Stonewall, this happened pretty regularly, but a bunch of cops would just raid a gay bar, and they drag trans people out and dump their faces in, like, buckets of water to wash all the makeup off of them. And then they would basically tear off all their clothes if they were cross-dressing. You know, even to the point of making them completely nude and then throw them in the back of police trucks, basically, paddy wagons. And they would do this. And Stonewall was when people said, no, we're good, and they just started chucking bricks at the police. There were a bunch of singers at the time. There's this funny story where there was this musician who was drinking at a straight bar across from this gay bar, and he saw people chucking bricks at police officers, and so he downs his drink really quick, puts some money on the counter, runs out there, picks up bricks, and starts chucking them at police officers too, because his mantra was that any time you get to any reason to chuck a brick at a police officer was a good reason. So we can probably confidently say, well, we can hopefully say that it was a more oppressive time back then, and we're all, enlightened and not oppressive today, but unfortunately, people are kind of just being kidnapped off the streets. So, I guess pull out bricks again, I guess. But, it
Get
kind
those
of...
bats ready.
Yeah, it kind of is what it is. But, yeah. So after Stonewall, there was this big push of making sure that people see gay people. And so you had a lot of this stuff where, like, people were trying to be activists were trying to be as gay as possible, as visibly gay as possible, hitting the stereotype, so that people knew that they existed. Because when it's your friend who lives down the street from you who's like, "Hi, I'm Johnny." I mean, he's your friend. He comes over for fucking barbecue on Saturdays. So when he gets, brutalized by people for being gay, are you just going to shrug and be like, "Well, that's how it goes"? Or are you going to get pissed off? Because this guy is a fantastic person who will watch your kids whenever, who will walk your dog, who will feed your pets when you're out on vacation. You know this person. You can rely on this person. You like this person. So
and
now...
you gave the example, he probably, like you said, bakes cakes or something and brings them to a bar. He probably does that to other places he goes to. He's just a fantastic person in general.
Yeah.
You get someone like that in your life and someone starts harassing, that's... Like I said, you just get the bat and go visit the harassing person and say, "Fuck off."
Yeah, it's like, those are the things that cause political change. Those are the things that cause that cultural shift. That work has been done now, for the most part. Like, people don't question gay rights in most places anymore. If you got a red state shitholes, then yes, people will question it all the time. But in many civilized states... I guess.
Yeah, civilized states, exactly.
In many blue states, in blue areas, like, gay rights are not controvertible anymore. They're not in controversy. It's like, yes, this is real. This is accepted. The work has been done. They are recognized. And so now we've moved to trans people. Why? So at Stonewall, and after Stonewall, and before, trans people were super adamant about gay rights. Super, super adamant about them. So now that trans people have helped gay people get their rights recognized nationally, nationally, some hellholes can still do stuff to them, but especially with certain leaderships. But now that work has been done, now we're starting on the other work to get trans people recognized. And we are running into the exact same resistance that gay people did. Exact same resistance. From the exact same terrible, awful, vile people. So...
Now, question here. Since I haven't found any trans folks.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a different culture from the gay culture, queer culture, than the trans culture, or is that basically the same thing?
So I'll let you in on a little tip. You have probably met trans people and not known.
So they kind of fit right into society, as long as they're not like, "Yeah, I used to be the other gender."
The vast majority of trans people do not want other people to know that they were not. Do not want people to know their cis identity or that they were cis.
Yeah, it's actually super offensive
not that
to
they
use their
were
dead name.
cis. They don't want people to know who they were before they transitioned, because that creates a lot of problems. Instead, they want you to just accept them as they are and for who they are. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't want to be talking with them because I'm not trans, so I can't really, give that kind of. I can't really speak as an authority on that, but. Mm-hmm. They want you to just accept them as they are. And so many of them will go to rather great lengths to try and make that happen. Right?
That's good.
You'll have trans men, that's someone who went from female to male. Someone that is a man who was assigned female at birth, so female in the male. So they will typically make sure that they grow out a beard whenever possible, or that they have obvious facial hair. They will typically work out a lot more than a lot of cis guys will. So he will try to make sure that you can see muscles. Sometimes the only way you can tell is because they'll have scars in certain places, but they also tend to cover that stuff up. So I think it's called a mastectomy. where you remove the memories, you remove the breasts. So they'll leave scars underneath, on the ribs, basically.
That makes sense.
So, all kinds of little things. But it is what it is. But you won't know most of the time, unless they're, like, super obvious about it. And, that's fine, too. They're just embracing a different part of the trans culture. Typically speaking, LGBTQIA+, or if they've added an 8 that I don't remember, that culture is very insular, and it will work with itself. So there's a lot of infighting, but at the end of the day, it's kind of like being part of the group and then sort of arguing with each other inside the group. You're not going to just, abandon them when someone starts poking and prodding at them or starting fights with them. And the other thing is, where does one fully end and the other one fully begin? You don't really know. I mean, you kind of do, but the whole thing is that there's a lot of cross-pollination, and everyone's kind of friends with each other to an extent, or at least understands each other. So, yeah, I mean, it's a lot of understanding of one another is the big one. So, yeah. It's understanding that you are a minority, and then there are different minorities within LGBTQIA plus culture. So, like, to put it in perspective, gay people are like, what, 20%? Depending on how you define it. Probably more of the entire population. Depending on how you define it. And then trans people are like 2% or something. So we're looking at a much smaller minority. But then again, how do you define where these boundaries are? I'm not saying that gay men are trans, but I am saying that there's going to be boundaries between these things where it's kind of gray. Like, how many trans people are gay? If someone is a trans man and he likes men, is he gay? Because a trans man was assigned female at birth. So, like, where do you put these hard definitions? And then it gets even more confusing because these definitions change depending on where you go.
Something else that also messes with the definitions is, I don't know if it's really part of it. I think it's definitely more physical and biological. It's intersex, because intersex is you have the physical anatomy of both sexes. You have a penis and you have a vagina, or you have the internal workings of both of them. So, or kind of a little bit of both. And so it's, you literally don't know. And what doctors would do is just say, which one should we make them? We'll just have some quick plastic surgery right here while the child is, a baby.
Yeah, to an extent.
Okay.
To an extent. Sometimes, literally, you'll have people with penises who are born with ovaries, where the testes should be. You'll have people with uteruses who are born with testicles where the uterus should, where the ovary should be. So those I don't know much about intersex, but the general consensus is, generally speaking, humans are born male or they are born female, and if they're not, one of those, and they are the organs and reproductive structures they have, we'll say, don't line up, then something went wrong. That isn't to say that intersex people are just a big mistake or anything like that, because they're not. But it is to say that they are probably not going to be able to reproduce. They're still people. You should still treat them like people, You should not use this as an excuse to be against them or anything. Don't do that.
Yeah, they literally cannot help how they are.
Correct.
I mean, if you believe in, say, Christianity or any other religion, God literally made them that way.
Yes. Yes.
If you hate on them for being intersex, congratulations, you officially have judged something that God made, which God, Jesus himself, who is actually God, specifically told you not to do.
Yeah, there's
Something along the lines of, don't intend to take the splinter from your brother's eye while you have a plank sticking out of your own. Yeah, I think it's in Matthew.
Okay.
I don't remember where, but yeah, plank eye don't have any right to say intersex is bad.
Yeah. There's just one of the things that is so frustrating with dealing with some religious people is they'll use excuses like the devil. And it's like, okay, let me get this right. God is omnipotent. That means he can do anything. He has all the power. Omnipotence doesn't mean he's the president of the universe. It means he can literally do anything. Infinite power. Affect the entire universe or just one little blank space. Okay? Omniscience means he knows everything. He can see everything. Every thought you have, everything that happens, and every corner of the universe he's fully aware of. Okay?
And it also says he knows everything that will happen.
Yes. So here's the big thing that becomes a problem for me with like Christianity and stuff like that. How the fuck is the devil doing anything? If he's supposed to be in a prison, how the hell is he causing any kind of corruption, considering that this omniscient and omnipotent being knows exactly what he's doing and how he's doing it, and has the power to just shut it down. Snap of a finger. Just, nope. Done. How does this being that wants you to know that it exists and will punish you for not knowing that it exists, how does that being not make it so that you know that it exists? It could just do it. Done. You know. So, if we look at this stuff, it doesn't make any logical sense. And, yeah, I mean, some of it just doesn't make any sense. So, using the devil as an excuse for prejudice against people is complete horseshit, and no one should ever do it. I mean, sorry. God shit, and no one should ever do it.
Gotcha. Honestly, whenever someone uses something like the devil made me do it, or
It's
they
bullshit.
start being religious and stuff, and it's like, if they start calling someone else the devil, or want to call me the devil for whatever, it'd be like, you mean like the devil that's controlling you? Like, it's so easy to turn it back around on them and then just watch them rage. It's kind of funny.
Dude, having worked in mental health now for a while, and having had people, basically use the voices as an excuse, or mental illness as an excuse for bad behavior, what they have learned is they can blame something that they seemingly don't have control over for their own actions, but they're still the ones who made that decision. So I've had people like try to attack the staff and, then use the voices as the excuse for why they did something. And what I have learned working in mental health is that's bullshit. They have the ability to not act on those things. It's a fucking hospital. We have medications we can give you at the drop of a hat. We just let the doctor know, and the doctor will prescribe you stuff. Cool. So they're telling me that the reason they're kicking and punching people because voices are telling them to? Yeah, no, complete horseshit. The entire reason they get away with doing that, the entire reason they are doing that, And saying that and using that as an excuse is because people who don't understand accept that. Okay? So if instead it's they attack someone and they say the voices made me do it and they still get horrendously punished for it, it's like, no. Take your meds. Don't listen to the voices. Don't do what they say. The voices are probably not good for you. Do not use this illness as an excuse for bad behavior, because ultimately, you are the one making the bad behavior. You're the one making the decision to do bad things. Stop using that as a crutch for bad behavior, for bad things, because that behavior and those bad things are the things that end up keeping you on the lower end of society and ending you back up in a hospital over and over and over. Get your shit together so that you can live your life. But, outside of extreme circumstances where sometimes they literally don't have control, but those people tend to be permanently just institutionalized anyway. It is what it is. Like, the people who literally don't have control, they're the ones who do something horrendous, and then they are deemed, mentally unfit to serve trial, and then they end up basically in a mental health hospital for the rest of their lives, because it's up to a psychiatrist to decide when they can leave, and that psychiatrist benefits from them being there because they get more money from the state to hold on to them. So,
and that brings up
a whole lot of other things that we don't have time to go into.
Yes,
because I am late for a game.